Hello and welcome to a small gold silver report. A real silver shortage. Something big happened in the gold market that caused silver hoarding, and the US Mint reacted by clipping coins and turning on the printing press. The gold-silver ratio of 15:1 set under the bimetallic standard failed, and bad money drove out good money. What are we talking about here? Well, first we need a little history. The bimetallic standard of 1834 was set by the United States as a gold-silver ratio of 15:1 for the purposes of minting coins. And the coins and weights and values were based on the 15:1 ratio. Now, even though the ratio was set, the market fluctuations occurred in both the prices of silver and gold, causing the ratio, the natural ratio, to change, but not the ratio in which the coins were made. So when one metal was valued more than the other, people would hoard the coins made of the more valuable metal or buy the cheaper metal coins with the coins of the more expensive metal. Now, the price of silver was rising relative to gold throughout the 1840s. Then something happened in the gold market to cause a full-scale silver coin shortage. And we're talking about the great silver shortage of the 1840s and 1850s. A big event happened in the mid-19th centuries in the United States. Some of you might have already guessed it, the discovery of gold in California in 1849. As that gold discovered in California headed east, the relative value of gold coins to silver coins decreased even further. Now remember Gresham's law, bad money drives out good. Classic example is in 1965, the United States started making previously 90% silver coins, dimes, quarters, and half dollars out of copper and nickel. The immediate result was the bad money, the copper nickel clad coinage, drove out the silver coinage, the 90% silver coins, as people hoarded those coins and did not trust what was stamped on them. They were supposedly all worth 10 cents, 25 cents, and 50 cents, but people realized that the silver ones were worth more than the copper and clad coinage, so they hoarded those. Now, silver coins became worth more than their face value in the 1840s and 50s, causing them to be withdrawn from circulation. Because the 16:1 ratio, the face value of the silver coins was less than the silver value. So their coins were hoarded, and there were very few small denominated silver coins circulating, which led to a silver coin shortage. When silver and gold were money, this is important to keep in mind, they were still subject to the stamped value that the government placed on them. So while there was no shortage of silver bullion back in the 1840s and 50s, there was a shortage of government stamped silver coins that people could use for trading. So the gold rush had caused a silver coin shortage. So what did the US Mint do? Well, the first reaction was a half measure, I think. In 1851, the US Mint introduced a silver 3-cent piece. Now, this coin was minted of 75% silver instead of 90% silver, like the other silver-based coinage at the time, and actually was worth less in face value, was worth more in face value than it was in its silver content. So by reducing the coin, the percentage of silver in this coin, this newly minted coin, to 75%, they were able to get it such that the stamped price was worth more than the silver content. Now, the reason they did 3 cents was that's what a postage stamp was. So now you can have these coins, you'd have the 3-cent coins. And 3 cents back then was a decent amount of money. If you had a pocket full of 3-cent coins, you weren't rich, but you had money, you can buy stuff. And so they minted a lot of these coins, 6.1 million in 1851. Then in 1852, they minted 18 million. Then in 1853, 11 million. And here's a picture of those coins there. There's a 3, Roman numeral 3 to indicate 3 cents. There's 1853 stamped on it. And that really didn't help. Just an aside, because 3-cent coins, there was still a shortage of dimes, quarters, and half dollars. Just an aside, the U.S. also made $3 gold coins in 1854. They never, you always say queer is a $3 bill, but there were $3 gold coins minted in 1854, and they minted them from 1854 to 1889, And they were also designed to coincide with the new 3-cent stamp. You could buy a sheet of stamps with a $3 instead of one, with a $3 gold coin. Oddly enough, the U.S. Mint also made $4 coins from 1879 to 1880. Now, besides making these 3-cent coins made out of 75% silver, the U.S. Mint then did a couple of other things. They clipped their coins and turned on the printing presses. So the U.S. Mint responded to the shortage by decreasing the weight of the coins. We can take a look at a chart from 6.8% to 8.2% in weight to alleviate the shortage, and they also made them in massive amounts. So let's take a look at what they did to the half dimes. There were half dimes at the time, very interesting coin, worth 5 cents, half a dime, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars. So the old half dime in 1852 was 1.34 grams. They shrunk that down to 1.24 grams, or an 8% decrease in weight. The dime, they did the same thing. It used to be 2.67 grams. They knocked that down to 2.49 grams, or a 6.7% decrease in weight. The quarter, they reduced 6.9% in weight. The half dollar, they reduced about 6.8% in weight. And the big silver dollars, they left at the same weight. And the way they did this was they didn't reduce the diameter. They just made the coin slightly thinner, and therefore it had less silver in it. So the decrease was fairly substantial, but not that much. I mean, the decrease under 10% in weight. You could barely tell the difference if you were holding one. But the real thing that the U.S. Mint did to knock down the silver shortage, remember, they weren't so much short of silver. They didn't reduce the silver content because they didn't have the silver. They were reducing the silver content to make sure that the silver coins were worth less than their face value. So if the silver coins are worth less than the face value, people wouldn't hoard them. But then they went for the knockout blow. They then also increased the mintages of these coins massively, which means they had a lot of silver. It means the government had the silver, it just wasn't on the coins, and it was in the coins at the wrong amounts, because now you wanted the face value to be worth more than the silver content, so you had to decrease the silver in the coin, you make them smaller. But then they massively increased, anywhere from 1,100% to 5,900% increase in the number of coins. So in 1852, if you look here, half dimes had 1.2 million. They boosted that to 15 million. Dimes, they made under 2 million in 1852. In 1853, they made 13 million. Quarters, they'd only made 273,000 in 1852. Well, in 1853, they made 16.5 million of them. Half dollars, they made 221,000 in 1852. They boosted that to 2.2 million. Dollar coins, as we mentioned, they didn't change the size or weight of the dollar coins, but they also increased it from just 1,100 made in 1852, and they made a modest 46,000 of those coins. They weren't the coins that were in short supply. The ones that were really in short supply were the dimes and quarters. And as we see, the 3-cent piece didn't really do much to alleviate that shortage. And 3 cents was probably good for buying stamps, buying 1 stamp or 10 stamps or 100 stamps. You can calculate that easily. But really, for people who are used to dimes, quarters, half dollars in their daily transactions. So those are the coins they needed. And here's another curious thing. You see here these 2 arrows on the seated Liberty coin. They were added in 1853, and they put them on the coin from 1853 to 1855 to indicate that these coins had the lower silver content than the ones that came from 1852 and before. It's kind of a nice looking feature. And again, these coins are not rare because they printed them in massive amounts. It's the ones without the arrows prior to 1853 that are very rare mintage. So the silver coin shortage was eliminated very quickly by the U.S. Mint's increased production of the silver coin mintage, but they continued for good measure to make massive amounts of these coins up till about 1858. An important note, during this time period that we're talking, when all this happened, 1837, 1862, there was no central bank. This was kind of the free of the central bank era. Now let's take a look at the coins that they minted during that time period, and you can buy these through the Smaulgld site. I'll get a small commission if you do, but you pay no more no less than if you visited this site directly. It's a Golden Eagle coin. But the Silver Eagle coin was made of 75% silver from 1851 to 1853. And then from 1854 to 1873, I guess when they had enough coins, they bumped that coin back up to 90% silver. Well, it never had been 90% silver. They increased it to be like all the other coins, 90% silver. So this is, I think, the only U.S. coin that is 75% silver, just from those 2-3 year period, but they did mint a lot of them during that time, so they're not rare either. Seated Liberty half dimes, seated Liberty dimes. So they made all of these in that design. They all look like this, except they're just bigger sizes. The woman sitting on with the Liberty shield there. Also, not covered in this time period, they did make that seated Liberty coin in a 20-cent piece just for 3 years from 1875 to 1878, and they made them all the way up to Liberty seated dollars. So at the time you had half dimes, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars, and from 1875 to 1878 you throw in a 20-cent piece, so all the coins basically look the same. The United States did not feature a real person on a coin until the Lincoln penny in 1909. Also, check out the Smaulgld History of Silver YouTube playlist. I'll include this one on it as well. That playlist includes, and there's also links here on the blog post of the other silver stories that are included in that playlist. When the U.S. confiscated silver, something people didn't know, happened in 1934. There's a story here, the decline and fall of the world's first silver empire. We're talking about the Roman Empire and how they clipped coins. And President Johnson's 1965 warning on silver. You can either see those on the Smaulgld website, or you could check out the YouTube playlist. And also, if you'd like to donate, I would love that if you would donate or become a patron on Patreon. You could do so via the links below, and you can also donate via Bitcoin or PayPal. Now, if you're interested in these seated Liberty coins or the 3-cent pieces, the links are on the blog post. They will also be below the YouTube if you want to check them out. Even if you just want to take a look, have a look, click on those links, and thanks for listening.